आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदम् माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणम् तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. We have been studying this Chandogya Upanishad, selected portions. We have come to the 6th chapter, having 16 khandas or sections. This chapter, along with the Shankara Bhashya, is a lot of food for thought. It has very precious pointers to the nature of Brahman, and what makes this particular 6th chapter especially popular, highly regarded by students of Vedanta is, it is in this 6th chapter out of the 8 chapters of the Chandogya Upanishad from the Samaveda that the Mahavakya TAT-TVAM-ASI appears 9 times. And we have seen so far up to the 12th khanda, and there were already 5 occurrences of this Mahavakya, that thou art. In the last section we saw, for example, the father Uddalaka calls son Shvetaketu and asks him to get a fruit from the banyan tree. The son brings it. The father asks the son to break that fruit and says, "What do you see?" The son says, "There are lots of tiny seeds." Very good. Break one of those tiny seeds. Bhindi, break it. The son breaks the tiny seed. And the father asks, "What do you see now?" The son says, "I don't see anything. My eyes are unable to see anything more." Then the father, the guru, says to the son, "Though you do not see anything, you know very well that these tiny seeds inside them have that stuff from which tomorrow a huge banyan tree can come out. Therefore, do not excessively depend on just your indriyas. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin. Shotram, chakshuhu, sparshanam, rasanam, pranamevacha. These 5 indriyas are very useful to us, but alas, we have become so dependent on them. We think that what they bring to our knowledge is everything. The science of the Upanishads, called the Vedanta, goes to a great depth into the question of what is life, what is this universe. We sometimes claim that science has progressed so much. We say, "Wow, how far science has come." But Vedanta would say, all this progress, with due respect to the number of benefits we have indeed got, no denying of it, but all this science has actually explored only the waking state, Jagrat Avastha, and has believed, science has all along believed that the Jagrada Avastha, the Vishwa that is perceived in the Jagrada Avastha, our own personality that we perceive either looking at ourselves directly or in a mirror, etc., is taken to be unquestionably real. We go to sleep and then we wake up. We look at sleep, that is dream state, to begin with, as some kind of much less real world. We go to deep sleep, and some of us look at deep sleep as having no significance whatsoever. Those who run short of time may even look at it as a waste of time. They may be praying, may I be able to stay awake more and finish work, etc. But Vedanta turns the whole scenario upside down. Vedanta says this Jagrada Avastha, which you have imagined as unquestionably true, is itself something that the final reality appears as. Brahma appears as Jagrada. Brahma appears as Swapnavastha, and in deep sleep, Brahma does not appear as this or that. Brahma is in its pure state, in deep sleep. Much before Einstein questioned the reality of time and space, the Upanishads had raised the question on their credibility. Are we in space, or is space in us? Are we in time, or is time in us? In the Vedanta, we get mind-blowing new outlooks. The time in Jagrada Avastha and the space in Jagrada Avastha are wound up, packed and sent away as though. In dream, we have another axis of time, another axis of X, Y, Z, three axes of space. They too are wound up. In deep sleep, there is no space, no time, but the unquestionably true reality, Brahma, shines in all its glory in deep sleep. Vedanta thus asks us to look beyond science. Alright, that tiny banyan seed has the capacity to generate this whole huge banyan tree. And the point made there was how from something sukshma, which we may not notice, something stula, which is more visible, we can touch it, we can smell it, etc., emerges. Now came a question towards the end of the 12th khanda. Shvetaketu in his mind had a question. But why is it subtle? Why can Brahma not be seen? Now in the 13th khanda, therefore, Uddalaka brings another scenario. Once more, he does not just talk, he asks his son to do something. And that is the famous example of salt in water. And in this, we have a title slide, as we generally give in these presentations. The title slide out of just 4 slides for this evening session in India, this morning in the West. TAT-TVAM-ASI, the 6th time. Out of the 9 times, this is the 6th time, and I have said in every class, Uddalaka does not repeat Tatvamasi just for the sake of repeat. Every time he says once more Tattvam-Asi, a certain dimension, a certain new doubt, yet another doubt in the mind of Shvetaketu is clear. So Shvetaketu had doubt. How come it is not visible. This Brahma is outside, inside, above, below. It is said like that, but we don't see Brahma. And secondly, what is the way to see it? Right now, we are not able to appreciate it. Is there a way to see what presently is invisible? To answer these questions, there is this Khanda, Trayodashaha Khanda. As the title slide shows here, let's open the title slide. I guess it has already come, but yeah, it is on. We have put a chosen piece of the four mantras, or the three mantras really. Tat-Chashvat Samvartate. Tat-Chashvat Samvartate. When you split this Adi, it is Tat-Chashvat Samvartate. What does that mean? Even as ordinary people, men and women around the world have no inkling about this Brahma, which is the only truth, and this universe is of questionable credentials. Even though they think what Brahma, we don't know. Actually, Tat Shashvat Samvartate. That is very much present all the time. Tat means that. Shashvat means Nityam, all the time. Samvartate. Vartate itself means is. Samvartate means very much present. Is very much. There are no doubt about it. What do you mean it is? As we shall take up the two mantras which give us that analogy, the crux of the matter is, in a bowl of water where salt is dissolved, we can't see the salt. It has completely dissolved. And if we put our hand into the bowl, again we cannot touch salt. It has dissolved. The previous night, Shvetaketu was asked, as Shankaracharya means a word in his Bhashya, Pinda. A Pinda means a ball of ice. Not the Tata table salt brought in a spoonful, but a ball of salt. Wide visible, you can hold it, maybe throw it somebody. And the father had said the previous night, get a ball of salt and put it in this bucket or bowl of water. Just gently put it and go. Even in the morning. Over the night, maybe in a few hours or a few minutes even, the ball of Bhavana dissolved. And therefore, Shankara also uses two words, Darshana, Sparshana. Darshana, you see, is there salt in this bowl? You don't see. And put your hand, where is that Pinda? Is there a Pinda? Pinda seems to have vanished. So, Sparshanaya na upalabhya. Darshanaya na upalabhya. So, these metaphors are to be taken for what we suggest. One must not stretch the metaphor beyond a certain point. It is just to give us a direction in thinking. Just as salt can neither be seen nor be touched, but if one were to sip a little water from that bowl, if a spoonful of water is taken and one puts it in one's mouth, then one says, oh, it is so salty. Then one knows. So, there is no suggestion made here that Brahman can be tasted. Brahman is some, take a spoonful of Rama Rama. Don't stretch any example beyond a certain. I think in the last class also I have said, a loving husband looked at his wife's face and said, oh dear, you look like Taj Mahal. You are like Taj Mahal. He meant to give a compliment to her. He slapped him because he was an engineer. So when he said, your face makes me think of Raj Mahal, He asked, I'm beating him. Are there 4 minars on my head? This is called stretching the. By the way, what I didn't tell you last time when I gave this example is I heard this from none less than R.K. Lakshman, the great cartoonist of Times of India. When I was studying at IIT Madras in 1980, he came down and in an extramural lecture, that's what we called it. Every Wednesday, some distinguished person is to come and deliver a lecture. And in the context of how cartoonists, in order to make a caricature, make a little quick drawing of somebody, they try to notice what is very unique. Indira Gandhi's nose was bigger than normal. Somebody else's eyes may have something. That they notice, and then they bring that in the drawing. So everybody knows, oh, in that context, we connected how something prominent. So the wife's face probably was so full of grace, full of peace, full of love, something. And Taj Mahal is said to be full of beauty, full of grace. Looking at Taj Mahal, especially on in moonlight, travelers, tourists who go to Agra experience great joy. Something which is very prominent. Now come here, back to Vedanta. The example of salt dissolving in water is not to be stretched beyond certain point. Something which is otherwise invisible through a proper study, through a proper discussion with competent teachers, listening to Vedanta discourses from people, teachers who are able to highlight what really has to be highlighted. Out of 100 teachers, alas, as many as 90 may go round and tell some stories, tell some jokes, and tell some, or recite some mantra loudly and so on. But the audience does not know what is the crux of it. Even among those who may have a certain clarity about what the main teaching of Upanishads is, alas, a good number are not gifted with right communication tools. Therefore, as all of you know, and we have covered that Upanishad in all its entirety, all the mantras, the Shankaras calling have seen Mundaka Upanishad. Was it not said there? A student who sees the limitations of this world, worldly living, should go to a teacher. And the teacher was described in that Mundaka Upanishad mantra, beginning with Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan. The Guru was described as Shrotriya Brahmanishta, anchored in right seeing, Brahmanishta, anchored, well anchored in right seeing, and Shrotriya, having access to the Shruti, the Veda, Vedanta, and the general literature available, because using those statements and those lines of thinking, those metaphors, etc., this person who has risen above being a person conveys the truth. So let me now, before proceeding to the next slide, let me tell you the title slide says here, there is a way to know the truth. There is a way. I translated this as way in the traditional Sanskrit. It is upaya. You are wondering how I may cross this wide river. Just a 10 feet long, beautiful, well-built boat becomes available to you. And a little short fellow could be sitting there. Yes, Sahab, please come sit, I will take you across. The boat is an example of an upaya. And crossing the river is upeya. What needs to be achieved is upeya, and some kind of tool you use is upaya. And in the case of Vedanta, it is the Mahavakyas, the statements in the Upanishads, and then in certain further discussion over it, we arrive at insights like it's not so much the words, but it is a query. Maharshi Ramana would say, study Vedanta, that is good. However, do not get lost in books. Inquire, in the light of all this I have studied or heard, who am I? Who am I? Am I the one who lost? Am I the one who won? Am I the one who is sick? Or am I the one who has recovered? Ordinarily, the answer is yes. Yeah, I lost 20,000 rupees yesterday. Or I was so sick, but thank God I have recovered. Ordinarily, we describe ourselves in terms of what our body goes through, what our mind goes through. Maharshi Ramana asked us to question that conclusion. Who am I? Who am I? And who am I is a question paper. Those who answer fail. Those who do not answer fly, what is called pass in flying colors. It is said like that. And another thing about who am I is, in everything else, the award is given when somebody is alive. But in who am I, those who succeed in the so-called who am I inquiry are necessarily awarded posthumously. Because the ego dies in who am I. Let me not divert to the who am I inquiry. So this whole section is about asserting there is a way, and what the way is hinted at. Illustration of salt dissolved in water. If you try to touch and verify there is salt, that's not the way. If you try to see with wide eyes and try to verify whether there is salt, that's not the way. The father asks the son to sip a little water. And the son says, there is salt here. Maybe the previous night he put the ball of salt and walked away. The next morning, maybe in simple illustration, he thought, maybe as soon as I went away, father might have taken the pinda away. No, the father had not taken away the salt ball. It dissolved. That's the metaphor. But in reality, in this matter proper, in this theme proper, to use pratyaksha, anumana, upamana, and arthapatti, and one more, that anupalabdhi. Those five pramanas, if you use and struggle and struggle and struggle, that is like trying to see salt or touch salt. You cannot. It has dissolved. Only way to verify there is salt is to drink. And we say in the tradition, the only way you will come to know Brahma is not through the five pramanas mentioned before, but through the sixth one, Shabda Pramana. Shruti Vakya is thus held high in tradition. But we just now said Shruti Vakya could also be a trap, or one may just be repeating the sentence. One may have a whole lot of arguments, but the ego remains strong. Therefore, paying attention to the movement of the self, inquiring what I truly am, etc., have gained momentum with so much truth in them. Let's go to the second slide now, in which the first of the three mantras that constitute the 13th khanda appears. Lavana metad udake avadhaya atama pratar upasidatah iti. These are the words of Uddalaka, who says to his son Swetaketu, Lavanam etar. Probably he offers that pinda, that ball of lavana salt. This ball of salt, udake avadhaya, place it in that in water there. Atha, thereafter go sleep. Ma means me. Pratar upasidata. Approach me tomorrow morning. Sahatatha chakara is the mantra. The boy did exactly as he was told. And next morning, Tadam Hovacha. The father says to the son, Uvacha means said, Yat dosha. Dosha means by night. Dosha, by night, by whole night, you had left this salt. Lavanam udake avadha. You had, it's the past tense form. You had left the ball of salt in the water. Anga. Anga is, oh my beloved boy. Tat ahara. Bring that bowl, bring that bucket. And it was brought by the son. Tadha avamrishya, even as he brought, on the way also he must have seen, where did that ball of the salt go? And when he brought it and placed it before the father, see how simple the illustrations of the Upanishad are. Being so simple, they are eternally valid. If something complicated was given, then maybe generations to come would not even know what it is given, because a lot of things keep changing. Suppose some 50 years ago, somebody had written an essay where he used the illustration of how a typewriter works. But today nobody knows what it is. Xerox machines. So many things have vanished. A lot of things have simply disappeared. If some literature, philosophical literature, had taken the example of those machines, you know, modern generations have wondered, right? Whereas Udake Lavanam, thousands of years ago was valid, now it is valid in future too. The sun, avamrishya, vimarsha, avamarsha, means checking. You read an article and you do a vimarsha of it. You see the article from critical angles of view. He also looked at the water, at that water, Naviveda, and did not understand. Not that he was such a man lacking in common sense, but for illustration's sake, this is dramatized. Naviveda, sabalakaha, Naviveda. The English translation goes, after keeping the salt in the water, then come to me in the morning. Father had said, he, the son, did accordingly. To him, the son, the father said, oh dear one, fetch that salt, fetch that bowl. It was probably in another room, which you kept in water at night. The salt was in water. And the son brought it, could not find it, could not find salt. No, he could not find salt. Let's go to the next slide, where the father sums up his teachings. Very simple sentences, pretty simple Sanskrit also. Now, in the third slide, we see the second mantra in the 13th khanda of the 6th chapter. So, father says, Yatha vilinam eva anga, anga is addressing the son lovingly. Asya antad achama. Antad means from, let's say, anta is end, top end or bottom end. Taste a little. Achama means drink, achamana. Drink a little from the top. The son does so. Katham iti. The father asks, how is it? How does it taste? Lavanam. Oh, it's tough, it's salty. Madhyad achama iti. Katham iti. Lavanam. Antad achama iti. My dear son, sip a little, taking water from the bottom, maybe with a long spoon, whatever. That means wherever you taste, that very bowl of water where you thought there is no salt, actually has salt every nook and corner, above and below and middle and on the right side, on the left side, right? Likewise, this world seems to have no God, seems to have no Brahma. Brahma seems to be just some fancy of some rishis. No. When you go by the right method, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, who am I, inquiry, watching the movement of the self, being aware of how the ego is operating. When the ego dissolves and your true nature, which cuts across boundaries, will be visible. The father says towards then, Abhiprasya. Asyati means to throw. Abhiprasya, throw this whole water, keep away this bowl, and come back. Atama upasirataha. Tadda tatha chakara. He did exactly that way, came back, and now the summary statement which we had shown in the title slide, Tat Shashwat Samvartate. Tat Shashwat Samvartate. This is Sandhi, some of you may not know. In Sanskrit, Srimat Shankaracharya becomes Srimat Shankaracharya. It looks odd, but that's how the Sandhi is. So here we have Tat Shashwat, Tat Shashwat, Tat Shashwat Samvartate. Brahma is, was, will be. Actually, time comes and goes. Rather than saying Brahma was at point T1 in the past, at point T2 now, at point T3 in future, as though time is unquestionably true and Brahma comes and goes. Rather, it is Brahma is unquestionably true. Space and time rise and fall. So there are some of these amazing insights, and what I said already is put in English. Now I will just draw a couple of points from Shankara Bhashya while introducing this. The Tikonakara rightly says this whole salt and water illustration is given to confirm that there is a way to gain Brahmajnana. Okay. Vidyamanamapi vastu na upalabhyate. Prakarantarena tu upalabhyate. Though Brahma is, we are unable to appreciate it. Prakarantarena. Go by right prakara, another way. That is Shravana, Manana and so on. Upalabhyate. Iti Shranuvatra Drishtantam. That's how Shankara's commentary begins on this section. Then, at another place, on the second mantra, yes, on the second mantra of the Khanda, he says, Yatha vilinam lavanam na vetha, tathapi, you don't know that there is salt, tat chakshusha sparshanena cha agrihyamanam, with your eyes you can't see salt, sparshanena, by putting hand, is it salty? You can't know through the hand. Vidyate eva apsu, lavanam apsu in water is. Upalabhyate cha upayantarena, says Sri Shankaracharya. And he highlights that sentence. Shashvat nityam samvartate vidyamanameva. Just a couple of words more. Adi Shankara's Bhashya on the Upanishad has beautiful, simple explanation. Yatha idam lavanam darshana sparshanabhyam purvam grihitam punar udake vilinam. Before it dissolved, the pinda could be touched. The pinda could be seen. Purvam darshana sparshanabhyam purvam grihitam. Later, udake vilinam, tabhyam agrahyamanam. Vidyate eva bhayantarena jihvaya. On a tongue, if you put a few drops, then you know that this water is salty. Likewise, the Shastras, the Chandogya Upanishads have said how we get carried away by this body and mind. We get carried away by the five elements. But the Shastras help us inquire. the source of the five elements is to be apprehended. And Acharya concludes his commentary, Sat Jagan Moolam, Sat, the truth, which is the source for this entire universe, Upayantarena, Lavana Anima Vat, like salt upon being dissolved enters a state of subtlety. Earlier it was gross. Anima is subtlety, anutva, iti vakya sheshaha. Now, though we need not really go into it, but to give it a sense of completeness, the third mantra of this khanda is exactly the same as in the earlier five instances. The 8th section, 9th section, 10th section, 11th section, 12th section, and now 13th section end with this mantra. Saya eshaha anima aitadapnyam idagam sarvam tat satyam sa atma tattvamasi shveta keto. This is what the Father says. That truth we are talking of, you yourself are. Dear Shveta Ketu, you are there because at that level of subtlety, the vision of object and subject vanishes. Space and time have no validity. Therefore, don't imagine some Brahma and say, but I may not be that. If you understand what Brahma is, you have no room other than Brahma. In Brahma only. You are in Brahma, you are Brahma. And now, why does Shvetaketu once more say, while expressing great delight, he says, Bhuya eva ma bhagavan vidnapaya. Please, revered sir, should teach me once more. And the Father says, Tatha somya. And we realize that the reason for his asking, his requesting the Father to say again is, please tell me more clearly, what is that upaya? And next Friday we will see the upaya given here in Chandogya 6th chapter is in the 14th khanda, the famous statement, Acharyavan Purusho Ve. If you have a teacher, Acharya, who has seen what it is, who is gifted also with some communication, Trotriya Brahman. That Acharyavan Purusho Ve, the famous statement comes in the next section, and one Trikonakara has very nicely written, right just before 14th khanda. Let me say in English, the upaya to know the Sat is given in the 14th khanda, which we shall see next time. Om Namah Paramarashidho Namah Paramarashidha.